How you doing? Today I want to talk about 11 steps to design the life that you want after alcohol. And this is some of my thinking process in order for me to achieve the goals that I'm going for in my life. This is sort of an 11 steps to design your life after alcohol. It's not everything that I do, but some of the most important elements, I think. And there's not in any particular order, although the first one is there for a big reason. So the first one is commitment. And I think to be successful in quitting drinking alcohol in the long term, to be successful in anything that you want to do afterwards, you've got to commit to a process. Now, I find, especially when there's a lot of ambiguity associated with stopping drinking alcohol, or with a lot of the other changes that we have in our lives. We're trying to get rid of something which we find beneficial, in the sense of that it gives us some positive feelings, or it shoots off the dopamine, or whatever it is. There is something there that we want. So this internal conflict that we have, you've got to be 100% committed to the outcome that you want to get, right? So if it's only 1% that you're not that you're not committed, then that's where all the trouble is going to be, right? So, and again, commitment on day one is going to be different to your commitment on day 100, or commitment on the first year that you've done it, or in 5 years later, because that commitment grows according to your experience. It grows with your expectations. It grows with so many other developmental things that you're going to go through as part of the journey. So just think about commitment on day one, and you're committed to getting through that first day, and the second day, and the third day, and so on and so forth, right? Number two is, don't get sunk by the non-measurables. Now, when I'm talking about non-measurables, we're talking about these are things that you just cannot measure, right? You have to let these kind of things look after themselves. Quitting drinking alcohol, for instance, is really something that you can't measure, right? You stop doing it, you make the decision, and you don't do it anymore. How do you actually measure that, right? I mean, you can mark a date on a thing saying, well, this is the mark a date in the calendar saying this is the last time that I had a drink. But apart from that, there's no way of measuring stopping doing something. How do you measure the feeling going forwards? You can't. How do you measure getting better every day, or moving away from alcohol? Or how do you measure the cravings diminishing? I mean, I'm sure there's some way of doing it, but it's not something that's within our purview as individuals, no? So it's like going to the gym every day. You go to the gym, you work out, you come home, you look in the mirror, and what you generally see after that first day is no change, right? You get up the next day, you do the same thing again, you come home, you look at the mirror again, you see nothing again, right? So it has to be something that, there's certain things in your life that you want to achieve that you're not going to be able to measure, right? So just ignore those and let those take care, let the non-measurables take care of themselves, because they will. Number three is to be patient. Improvements like these are going to happen over many months. If you take a photograph of yourself in the last example of going to the gym, and you take a photograph of yourself on day one, you go to the gym for a month, and you do this consistently, and you work out consistently, and you work hard, and you work on your diet and all those other things. Take another photograph at the end of the month, then you're going to notice the changes. So what happens in the meantime is that you need that patience, right, in order to wait it out and to go for that month. And then think to yourself, well, if I've done that in a month, then what can I do in 2 months or 6 months? And then, start that process off again, either take another photograph in 2 months' time, or, revert back to the original photograph. But you get what I mean? These are things that can be measured in the right way. The fourth one is to seek out your meaning in life. I used to think that all my everything about this journey was about trying to be happy, and trying to have that happy life, and trying to make every moment feeling happy. And the more I get into this journey, the more I lean towards trying to make my life meaningful. And I think that being happy or having happiness, having that state that you want to be, at least some of the time, is a perfectly reasonable request of yourself and of your life. But how do you measure that? Do you measure? Are you going around smiling all day long? Have you got this consistent smile on your face? Over time, I think that happiness is better measured in terms of contentment, that overall general feeling of well-being. It's getting up every day and thinking to yourself, yeah, I'm feeling happy today. I'm feeling contented today, and measuring that over weeks and months. And, you can only look at these things from a general perspective, whether or not it's a plateau that you're on with, that you're generally feeling good, you're generally feeling happy, you're generally feeling that contentment over time. But I think that's more to do with contentment rather than happiness. And for me, that all comes from meaning. If you haven't got any meaning in life, it's going to be very difficult for you to find the happiness. Number 5 is to be consistent. And I think to get to that stage of consistency in your life requires consistency, consistency in thoughts, consistency in the actions that you take, consistency in building habits, consistency in seeking out the like-minded people that can help you up the rungs, who are thinking along the same lines as you, right? Consistency, not just in choosing the easy route, but choosing the more difficult route. Consistency also matters in what you leave out of your life. That's another thing. The next one is impulse control. We need to really control the instant gratification, not to get rid of it altogether. I just think that, I think instant gratification is a good thing, to have that buzz every so often, but you can get that from different areas of your life. I often get that out from climbing up a mountain. And it takes time to do it, but there's a gratification in having achieved that, not as instant as downing a load of pills or drinking a lot of alcohol, but it's a better, more sustained, and it lasts with, it stays with you longer. So we're talking about controlling your instant gratification rather than getting rid of it altogether. I think it's a useful thing to have, like I said, in life. It's a mindset that matters more than anything else. It's that mindset of I'm going to have episodes of instant gratification, but in general, as a general way of thinking, I'm going to think more in terms of trying to build my life through the process of going through a bit of discomfort and enjoying the pleasures later, and having a lot more of the pleasures, a lot more sustained pleasure. If you think with an instant gratification mindset, you're not going to be happy living in life. Instant gratification can only give you a small spike of happiness, gives you that small dopamine lift. But, with that, every dopamine lift that you get, there's an equal and opposite balance that has to be taken over the other side. So that's where the downer comes from. Instant gratification can't give you the happiness because that effect tops out very quickly. So if you're looking for some help to stop drinking alcohol, we've got our quick start guide. It's a quick start preparation guide. It's down below. You can click on the link there. It's free. It helps you to really to get consistency in your thoughts, to get some clarity of where you're going, and to give you the confidence that you can get there, and that courage to step across that line, whether that line is the first day or day 30, or you're stepping across into a new journey. It can really help you. If you really want to get some of our help, you can go up here to our, it's not a link, you go to www.habitsv2.com, and we've got a good program over there, a lot of videos, daily videos. We've got a forum, we've got Zoom calls, we've got a lot of different stuff over there that will help you on that day-to-day, very deep, go deep into stopping drinking alcohol and the processes that come after that. So heading on with the program now. Number 7 is commit to a process. I was talking about this earlier on, that you have to commit to yourself and to commit to the journey. But this is more in order to make consistent improvements in your life, you've got to follow a certain process. You know, it's not believing or having faith, but logically know that you're following certain steps in a certain sequence that is going to take you to success. Think about a chessboard, and you're planning your attack, maybe a few moves ahead, and only then, once you've planned out that attack, then you're going and you're taking the first move, and then you're thinking about the next few moves after that. If you don't think a few moves ahead, you're going to be sort of eaten up pretty quickly by any good opponent in chess. And in this case, life is your opponent. So, you know, this process should take you step by step towards the life that you would like to live. The one that you're going to build on the back of this thinking process. So it takes a lot of thinking before, you know, they always say that if you're trying to teach something, that you should know at least 10 times more about the subject that you're trying to teach before you can teach it. Right? And I think it's a similar proposition towards your life, that you should have done at least 10 times as much thinking into what you want to do before you actually go out there and do it, you know. In the long term, I'm saying that, you know, the small steps forwards, if you get a general direction of where you want to go and you're heading in that general direction, then taking the small steps, it means that you can take this step, you can assess things after a few steps and say, well, am I still on the right track, or do I need to make adjustments, you know? And anything like this should include values and principles that are going to guide you. You know, these are deep seated things within yourself that really depict who you are, or who you want to become, is probably a better way of saying it. You know, and it should also include concrete, well thought out, specific goals that you're going to aim towards. And specific, I mean, in the sense of, if you're going to run a marathon and that's one of your goals, you say, my goal is to run the London Marathon on June the 25th, 2014, or whatever it is, you know, in the future. That is a specific place, specific time, and that's what you're aiming towards. And I think your brain just works a lot better when you've got these specific goals to aim towards, rather than wishy-washy goals. The next one is called the Ali way, after Muhammad Ali. I've done a video on this before, and it's, you have to believe that what you're doing is right. You know, sometimes this takes a complete rebuilding, or sort of you're newly constructing a set of core ideas and core beliefs and principles that are going to guide you. And again, go back to the fundamentals of the process. Without these, you're sort of like this dog that's going around chasing its tail all day. You know, if you can conceive it and you can believe it, then you can achieve it. That's what Muhammad Ali said. I'm sure a lot of other people have said something similar along those lines, but it's just a great way of thinking, you know. If you can conceive it, if you can get it into your head and you can think about it, and you can get yourself to believe in yourself enough to actually take those steps forwards, then you can achieve it. And a lot of the time, it's not even believing that you can get to that end result. It's believing that you can get halfway there, or a quarter of a way there. That's enough to get you moving. And when you're moving, that will build up a lot of the momentum and a lot of the things that you need, the internal self-belief that you need to move forwards, right? Because the more you move forwards and the more you move into the journey, the more clear you are about yourself and about the end result. It's often very difficult to get to that end result, you know, to get outside of the drinker's mind for a start, right? And to think, well, what's it like to, you know, if you can't think what it's like to live a life without alcohol, then it's very difficult sometimes to envisage yourself in different areas without alcohol. So you first have to take those first steps and then live a life without alcohol, and maybe then you can start to see further than that. So the number 9 is the dopamine balance. Talking about this a bit earlier on, but we're talking about short-term pain in the right areas will lead to long-term gain, right? That's one of the areas of the dopamine balance. And we're also, there's this dopamine effect in your life that for every tip of the dopamine balance to one side, that mechanism has got to tip over to the other side in equal measure. So if you tip the balance over to the pleasure side sharply with an instant gratification, and the balance will tip back over to the other side, to the pain side, to an equal amount to balance things out. So, you get the sharp hit of the whatever it is that you're doing, and then you get the sharp down of equal amount. And the problem is that when you do this over and over again, you tend to get a weighted disadvantage to the downside. So you're not getting that hit anymore. All you're getting is the downside. So, the dopamine hit of taking the drug and the dopamine balance slipping over to the other more painful side with the hangover and the withdrawal, that happens more and more and more often. So number 10, this is related to one of what we were talking about earlier on with the unmeasurables, and it's to measure the measurables and measure what you can measure moving forwards to maintain your momentum, maintain your motivation. If you talk about losing weight, let's say, you can't see the day-to-day changes that you're going to make. You won't see much of what you've lost in a day or a week by looking in the mirror. You can measure different body parts. For instance, you measure your stomach and your chest and your hips and your arms. You can weigh yourself. I mean, it's an obvious one to do. See if what you're doing is successful or not successful. And it's a pretty good gauge over time. I think the weighing scale can sort of lie to you depending, because you can drink a lot of water, which doesn't actually put on weight, but it will physically put on weight when you step on the scale if you drank too much water. And you can see if what you're doing is successful or not by doing these things. It's lovely to hear somebody give you a compliment about how different you look. If somebody hasn't seen you for a while and you've been on a diet or something like that, and you lose weight, and they say to you, "Wow, have you lost a bit of weight? You're looking good today." That's reaffirming. It's a good sign that you're heading in the right direction. Nobody loses weight after all just to lose weight. They always want to be fitter. They want to feel healthier. They want to fit into the sexy clothes, to be able to move more freely. So there's always another aspect to this, and it's such a big problem in the weight loss, is that when people focus on the diet, they tend to, once they go off the diet, then go back to their old way of living, and all the gains that they've made are soon frittered away because they haven't got a plan for the afterwards. Number 11, the final one today, is just to look at the whole picture. Think about the daily things that you're going to do that can affect your life overall. But with each iteration, this is not something special, or nor does it give you anything of real value. An example would be brushing your teeth, right? Brushing your teeth every day takes a couple of minutes. It has a specific short-term job, which is to make your teeth clean, of course, to make them look nice. But there is the real reason for brushing your teeth every day is long-term protection. So you have to sort of take yourself out of exactly why you're doing this in the short term. Not drinking one drink doesn't make a difference in and of itself. You not drinking one day doesn't make a difference in and of itself. But you're not drinking for a year, that makes a huge difference. That's why I don't understand people when they do the 30-day fast or the 30-day dry January, let's say, for instance, and people say, "Oh yes, I felt so good. I could really feel, I've lost weight. I feel good. My skin feels clear. My head feels clear. Can't wait to have that drink at the weekend now to celebrate." So just think about that. Try and get yourself out of that looking too close on things, and try and see the bigger picture. So quitting drinking alcohol is all about the day-to-day boring, monotonous things that you need to do to build your new life. It's not about any one thing in particular. Each of these things has got its merit on its own. Each of these things matters. Some things matter more than others. For me, one of the things that we use, it's a huge part of Habits V2, is what I call the vigorous cycle. And that's nutrition, sleep, exercise, mental nutrition. So what you're putting into your brain, and water. And these things, we spend a lot of time talking about these things, especially the mental nutrition, the nutritional aspect of these things, and exercise. And a lot of these things, the reason why I call it the vigorous cycle is because one thing leads into another. If you feed yourself right physically, you give yourself good food, then you're going to sleep better. You're going to find it much easier to exercise. You're going to think it better, easier. Same thing with water. You give yourself water and you'll sleep better. You find that your food is digested better, that it's easier to exercise, and so on and so forth. All of these things are in a cycle. But if you skipped one of these things on one day, it's not going to matter very much in the grand scheme of things, right? If you binge out on news one day and you're just feeling crap, or you binge out on something and you're letting the doors open to your brain and letting whatever flow into it that you want, not going to matter much in the grand scheme of things. But the idea is that the basic dynamics of what you're trying to do, you're building a system of living, a lifestyle of living that promotes your overall contentment in your life. So you need to be consistent in those things, and the more consistent that you are, the more generally the quicker that you're going to get to that end goal that you want to get to. And you're never going to get to the end goal. There's always a goal above that you're trying to reach as well. But that's where the beauty of any of these systems work. They work exactly the same way that you build habits in the first place. If you consistently do something, consistently drink alcohol, then that is going to grow into a habit. And because you've grown a habit, and that's going to then promote unhappiness, it's going to promote frustration, it's going to promote just physical ill health. Alcohol use is the opposite of the systematic rational thinking that we're talking about. It's based on emotions. We always say, well, I feel like a drink, or it's, from my point of view, it's always there to appease or to elevate certain emotions. So you're either trying to push emotions down, or you're trying to pull them up, pull up the positive ones, push down the negative ones. Always. You're trying to promote some emotions or shove other ones down. And for me, it's just really deceptive, because it's a delusion that you think you're getting something in the moment, and you are probably getting something in the moment out of it. But the accumulation of all these moments really does cause a lot of damage in your life. So we don't realize that this is happening in the moment. We say we just can't do this now. We can't do that now. I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next week. I can't really, I'm not in the form now, or I'll quit in a month or 2 months or 3 months. But in 2 months or 3 months, you're not going to be the same person. You're going to be a worse person for it. Your habits certainly won't be the same as you are right now. Why should that matter to you? Well, you're eventually going to grow into that person 2 or 3 months down the road. Think about what having another 2 or 3 months of accumulated alcohol use is going to be doing for you, mentally, physically. It's all about the process, finding a process, working out what is going to work for you, what your goals are going to be in your life, how you're going to get there, how you're going to stick to it day by day. And like I say, if you're on that other slope, you're heading towards the person that is going to be suffering through that. And if you're waiting for a day, or you're waiting for a week, and you're procrastinating and keeping procrastinating, hoping that the person down the road is going to be in better shape, how are they going to be in better shape to deal with any of these problems if you don't make it happen? So anyway, have a look at this video on the five rules after failing to stop drinking alcohol. I think you'll enjoy that one if you've enjoyed this one. I'll speak to you again soon. Onwards and upwards. Bye now.